Before we install the radiator, I want to show one thing. So you can see it. So I talked about it earlier. We're going to be putting two fans on the outside of the radiator, but we're not going to have these controlled by the GPU. The GPU is going to control these fans connected directly to the GPU. But we're going to put these are 140. These are only 120. So we had these on the front before, and they were cooling the CPU radiator. So now that the CPU radiator is on top, we're going to put these on the front to increase airflow. And because these are 140, if you can see that, there's room along the edge here to on both sides. Put this to cover this. You can see it better from the top. And provide more airflow to the cabinet. So there's a little bit of room on the edge of this here for some airflow, but most of the airflow is going to be going through the GPU radiator, which is fine. And the inside one will be pulling that through. But I just want to get some more airflow into the cabinet and not just rely on the bottom. Otherwise, this bottom is the only input to the cabinet. We got the fan on top here going out, and we've got the two fans up at the very top. So we've got this exhaust fan on the back, and we've got two fans on top of the cabinet that are pulling here, but I want some more airflow into and not just passively in. I wanted it to be forced in. So I think the best solution, I didn't want to hook up these to the GPU. The GPU is not doing anything, so they're not going to be going. So I want to have some airflow regardless. So it'll have more obstructions here because these fans, I'll set these fans up to always be spinning a little bit with the GPU. So I'll have a minimum fan speed for the inlet, for the inside fans here when I set the curve for the GPU. Okay. All right, ready to put the radiator in. There's just enough room for it, and it's fans on the back. And we need to make sure we expose all these holes. And we're going to use these little screws that came with it. And the washers. So we got washers. So tubes are resting on the bottom. That'll make it easier to put in. So the tubes are resting on the grill. So we'll get it in there this way, and we'll probably slide it up a little bit if we can. This will make it easier to get started. We don't have to hold it in the back. We don't have to keep it from falling down in the back, let's say. So again, we're just going to get these snug, or so only snug enough so they can still slide around. So semi-snug. Semi-snug. How about that? All right, so my solution to attaching these fans to the front, since we can't screw them in from the back on this side, there's not enough room. Probably there's some way to get in there, but it's going to be too difficult. So the solution is to use these sound ending connectors, which I poo-pooed earlier, but they can just be slid into these slots from the front, like this. Squish them in there. Now they're in there. And then you just pull them through this thing, and they just lock in place. So we'll have 4 points of connection for each fan, which is good. And it'll be sound deadening, so it'll be even quieter. And then also the fans just rest on the bottom here. There's kind of a little shelf down here you can rest on. So they're going to be resting on the bottom, so they'll be solid in that direction. And then they're also held in place by this screen, which goes in the front here. So they're not going to go anywhere. They'll just be held in here, and it should work the way we want it to. So. All right, so what I had to do was I had to pre-install on the bottom, pre-install these. So they're locked in here. It's not locked in now, but what it is this little gap shows up that goes in the case, that little gap at the end there. Then I slid this up and down and worked and pushed from the front, and that worked them into the little slots, and they attached. So that was a lucky break. So for these top ones, I should be able to use the needle nose pliers and get them to go in there. So we're gonna put this one in. Try not to lose it. There, okay. So now we can connect this one by pulling. So we have to pre-install all of them, because when you pull on it, it pulls it out of the case. So we're gonna have to pre-install all of these, it looks like. All right, well, that'll work. Sliding it back and forth, up and down, seems to get it in that slot in the back, so we'll just do it that way. We'll do what the case allows us to do. We'll just do it this way. Once they're in there, they won't be going anywhere, so we'll be good to go. Okay, so those are pre-installed. Then we just slide this up and down and push. And pretty soon, all of them, the ones we can reach, we can help out a little bit. Well, pretty soon, all of them will be in there. All right, well, it took a lot longer than I hoped. Look, I didn't show that. This bottom right corner was the hardest to get in. Once I had that in, the other ones you can access from this side. You can slide this up and get the one in the back over here. So once it's part way through, you can persuade it just with your fingers. But the one in that back corner I couldn't really reach, so I had to use my favorite all-purpose tool, which is a bicycle spoke. It has a little hook on it, so that helped. Eventually I got it in there. So once I got the back corner, and then I put the other ones in. All right, so now we're all set to go. We just need to plug in the graphics card with our 3 power cords. This is a lot better. See, the hoses are going to be, the power cords are going to loop around the hoses because the power cords have to come out this way, so there's no way around that. All right, so I'll get some tie wraps, tie this up. All right, here we go. Turn on the power. All right. It always does that. It's kind of disconcerting. It starts up and then it stops again. So it's doing a fancy RGB thing. On the top, it's even got a VGA. That's pretty cool. We'll be able to see that when we're sitting at the desk. So all the memory's coming on. And it's going through its thingy. Its numbers. And we got the BIOS. Hooray. Yeah, so in this case now the test monitor is plugged into the graphics card. So now I was plugged in up here because on the back panel of this motherboard has got HDMI and display port, but we're using these down here. So, all right, all the fans. These fans are going. Let's see if these fans in front are running. So again, these are. I had it set up to be controlled by the CPU temperature. So we'll be tuning all that again because we changed the whole setup here. Before I buttoned it up, I wanted to just reiterate what we did. So first thing we did was we replaced the power supply. Then we had to reposition this disk drive for our RAID system. We have one RAID up, one disk drive here, one here. It was up here, but there wasn't going to be enough room with this radiator for this to stay there. That was the main thing, yeah. And plus these power cables, it wouldn't fit anyway. So, but the radiator forced us. Radiator could have slid over maybe a little to the back. I'm not sure, but in any case, we had to move this down here, and luckily it would just fit using what this is a standard case bracket. I just tie wrapped it in here. It's fine, and that left us just enough room to put our new graphics. Oh, then we replaced the CPU cooler and put the radiator on top like it's supposed to be. Remember, the CPU cooler was in front, and the cooler was above the top of the radiator, which is verboten, no good. I know that now. And then we replaced the graphics card. We got a new RTX 3080 Ti hybrid. That's going to let us run our HP Reverb G2 at full resolution on things like Star Wars Squadron and so forth. We reinstalled, or we kept the USB-C card because this doesn't have a USB-C connector. In any case, USB-C connector on the old graphics card didn't work with the HP Reverb G2, which uses that to communicate with the computer. So this was working. It made sense to put it back in. There's plenty of room for it. And on the front, we installed the radiator and put the tubes at the bottom like you're supposed to. So the high point in this cooling system is up here. So any air will accumulate up here. And we installed 2 new high-speed, Noctua fans, which are going to be in a pull situation here. So we replace the fans that were on here, and then we reinstalled our two 140 fans on the front. These are Noctua, same fan as this, only 140 instead of 120. And we had a lot of trouble installing these, but we figured out a way to do it using these sound deadening connectors. So these are in here solid, 4 points of connection, and we're going to be using the CPU software, the motherboard software to control the fans. So we didn't plug in the fans for here, and the AIO pump is plugged into the motherboard, so that's also controlled by the motherboard software, the fan expert stuff that has all the fan curves and pump curves and stuff. And we are going to be using the EVGA software to control the color, so we can match it up with our orange. And we're going to hopefully we should be able to change the color of this so it matches up with our orange scheme. So, and we had to install these new power cords, and they're going to be sticking out a little bit, but they should tuck under to work with our glass front. So then I'm going to put the front on once we're back in the office, and we'll tuck everything in here for the final time and not mess with it for another 4 years. This will be the last time I upgrade this computer. If I need to upgrade, I'll get a new case, and that's a lot safer because you have your old computer working. I learned that this time. So I took a little bit of a risk doing this, but I think it was worth it. All right. On to testing and tweaking and overclocking.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Post a comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll try to respond. That's all for now, but more videos are coming, and if you want to see them, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification icon if you don't want to miss one. This is Beta Cygni signing out, and keep looking up.